up, you guys? This is Rob from AI Plays, and today on the Daily Grind, we're going to be chatting about a topic that I don't think enough people talk about. Now, we always hear things like the best frame for ESO, the best frame for extended survivals, the best frame in all of Warframe. But one thing that we really don't take into account, which is something I really want to stress with you guys, is what is the funnest frame to play in all of Warframe. Now, of course, I couldn't boil it down to one frame, so I thought that I would go ahead and give you a little bit of a hit list of my 5 favorite Warframes to play for fun. Alrighty, so I'm going to be completely honest with you, these are not in any specific order. However, I did kind of save my favorites for the last. It's a very, very loose top 5. So the first one we're going to start out with, as you could probably already see in the background, which is of course Mr. Najah. Now, the reason that I like playing with Najah is because he is very, very different from the normal standard Warframe play. At least the way that I've got him built is really, really focused on his fire feats. Oh my god, I forget what the actual name is for the ability, but you know exactly what I mean. So I've got that and the augment equipped for pyroclastic flow. So he's super, super fun because you can kind of lay down this carpet of fire, and by the way, you can also bullet jump, and that will actually allow you to lift the fire into the air just in case some enemies are getting out of your view. But I love the fact that you can use your fire CC to chip away at enemies, and then you've got a multitude of things that you can do as well. You can go ahead and throw your ring at them if you need some healing for you or your allies, or you can go ahead and use pyroclastic flow and re-trigger it down a hallway, and you just see all these crazy numbers that rack up. For those of you guys who don't know what pyroclastic flow is, it's basically an augment that lets Najah accumulate all of the damage that he's done to enemies through his fire feat, and basically launch it out in this big kind of like pad. And he does this cute kick animation, and it's just so fucking awesome. I don't think I've seen that kick animation anywhere else in Warframe, and it's kind of like one of those ones where you kick your sneaker into the air and then it just goes flying, but instead this time it's volcanic fire. And for me, to be honest with you, I know that Najah isn't necessarily the most like endgame Warframe out there, but because of the fact that his playstyle is so different, you can kind of like say, alright, he's not an endgame Warframe, but he allows you to mix up your gameplay in such a way that you don't feel bored, which is definitely a big thing if you're doing a lot of farming, or if you're running the same missions just over and over and over again for any specific reason. So I definitely love Najah, and the reason he's on this list is because he mixes things up. Now, next on my list is definitely Korra. Don't get me wrong, I was just as sad as the rest of you guys to hear that Exalted Whip was not going to happen. However, the second that they premiered Strangle Dome, I was all over that baby, because that ability is so freaking iconic. And with some of the recent buffs that they gave her, she just feels even more and more powerful. Now, one of the things that I do with Korra is, well, I actually use this with pretty much every frame, is I actually run the Naramon focus. And what happens is, because of the fact that she's so good at grouping enemies together, or even, you know, with her Strangle Dome, whenever she whips that group of enemies, she gets a tick on the combo counter for every enemy that she hits. So it feels super, super juicy to start generating a whole bunch of melee stacks, just so that you can deal even more and more damage when you're doing it through your Strangle Dome, because as you guys know, whenever an enemy is latched up to the Strangle Dome, when you hit one, it disperses the damage throughout. And in addition to that, whenever you've got your Ensnare going on and kind of like pulling enemies in, you can get ticks from that too. So you just feel super, super powerful by like reeling enemies in. And let me tell you, the fact that she can kind of swap her fashion frame too. I mean, I know it's not super like in your face, but like little touches like that I'm definitely into. Plus the fact that she's got a decent amount of armor. She can use Venari to equip Hunter's Recovery, which can get you back health whenever Venari's attacking something. Or you can even swap Venari to defensive mode to get you more health back. So she's controlling and she's thriving. It's just a really good life with Korra. So she is definitely on my list because her theme just resonates so well with those of us who likes to whoosh, whip it real good. Moving along is the Warframe that actually inspired this list. I was chatting with some viewers in my stream, and I actually went ahead and talked about how much I like this frame, and not too many content creators seem to actually cover this frame too much, but Atlas is so freaking fun to play. Now, I feel like a little thing that you're gonna see with the previous frame and some of the newer frames that come up on this list is the fact that they are very engaging. And the rebel mechanic that they introduced with Atlas was just one of the things that I freaking loved. It slowly ticks down over time and like removes your armor, but as long as you're petrifying enemies and you're smashing them, you're gonna get more and more ticks of rubble. So this kind of is like saying, hey, if you want to stay alive, you need to make sure to be using this mechanic. And let me tell you right now, the mechanic is fun. Just because you petrify enemies, so you do a lot of CC, and then you can go ahead and blow them up, and all these chunks fall out, and you got to go pick up the little rubble pieces. To me, that is a whole lot of fun. It's like a little mini game in and of itself that helps you keep yourself alive. And because of the fact that rubble will also heal you if you need to be healed, it's a really, really great incentive for you to kind of play with it. Now, the other thing that I really, really love about him is petrification. Petrification is just such a fucking powerful CC. It's just like, nope, you're gonna chill right there. You're not gonna do a single goddamn thing, and I will deal with you when I get to you. I absolutely love the fact that now Petrifying Gaze is pretty much just like an instant. It's almost like a little railgun. It goes and then it's super fast and everything is done. Or you can actually do that with your ultimate and lay down the rumblers. Then the second that you lay down the rumblers, boom, everything in an area of effect is petrified. So you can go ahead and use all of that to build stacks. Also, his rumblers are fucking adorable. Can we just... Listen, they don't get enough credit. I love them. I think that they're absolutely amazing. But alongside of the fact that you have pets, you have survivability, and you have CC, Atlas is definitely one of the funnest frames out there. And because of the fact that his mechanics are so unique, it's something that you don't get from many other frames. Like I was telling you guys from Najah, Najah is so drastically different from other frames. This is definitely something that sets him apart from the pack. Now, I have done some longer survivals with him. Am I gonna say that he's like, you know, 2-3 hour survival guy? Probably not. But you can definitely lay down the hurt and survive at the same time with Atlas and his very unique mechanics. Thank you for the follow, whoever that was. Okay, the next one on my list is a little bit of a love-hate relationship, but I guess that totally fits Harrow just fine because you get some pain and you get some pleasure when you use him. Harrow is definitely one of those frames that I don't really enjoy playing on stream because it's very involving, but Harrow is one of those ones that feel really, really satisfying when you're playing him well. And for me, I need to have like full attention on what is going on in front of me. I need to like be watching health bars and I need to be watching buff timers and all of that kind of stuff. And there's a part of me that hates it, but there's also a part of me that absolutely loves it. Because for me, Harrow is an extremely engaging Warframe to play. There's so many mechanics that come together for you to be a good Harrow. And when you're a good Harrow, let me tell you, you are a fucking godsend to the team. Harrow is an amazing, amazing Warframe, both balancing damage output and defensiveness at the same time. Again, CC, again, mechanics that make him very, very engaging. But the one thing that I have to say about Harrow, above all of the other frames that I'm going to mention today, is he feels rewarding. He feels like when you're on a fucking roll with Harrow and you're getting headshots and you're getting energy back for your team and you're keeping them healed and then you're going invincible and then you're doing CC and then you're losing shields and gaining shields. It just feels absolutely amazing. And there are very few skill intensive frames in the game. One of the things that I kind of will fault DE for, and this is just me speaking my truth, is they like making things that are accessible. Sometimes when things are too difficult or when certain frames are just like, they just like make it really hard for some players to like wrap their heads around the mechanics. When they do that, like they get frightened and then they end up having to pull back. For me, Harrow is the complete opposite of that. Harrow is when they double down and they said, you're gonna have to be good to play this frame. You're gonna need to get headshots. We're gonna help you get headshots, but it's still going to rely on your skill at the end of the day. And there's something absolutely juicy for me on that. I'm like, ooh, like this is one of the ones that are tough. So when you do really well at it, you're like, man, this feels really, really good. Through all the pain comes the pleasure. And that is why Harrow is on my list of frames that are fun. but also kind of like sadistically fun. And last but definitely not least, for those of you who know me well and know my history of Warframe shilling, I absolutely love Titania, and it is all about that goddamn Razor Wing. There is something about Arcwing that I've always enjoyed, until they did that whole weird space flight mechanic that I absolutely hated, and I was like, no, we need the old Arcwing back. And literally Titania's Razor Wing is old Arcwing, so I was like, yes, give me some of that. Now, the ability to shrink down small and tiny and like buzz around and absolutely mow down enemies is fun, but it's even better when you have some of the most powerful, I'm calling it right here. It is the most powerful exalted weapon in the game. It's her Dex Pixia. That is right. Dex Pixia can absolutely mow through enemies. 155's no problem. The only issue that, you know, Titania really has is she's a tiny little fairy girl, and sometimes if you're not paying attention, if you're not laying down some good CC, you can die pretty quick. So that's kind of like one of the downsides of her, but her CC is really interesting and really different. Am I gonna say that her CC is the best out there? No, but it's definitely wackadoo, and there's no better feeling than when you lay down a good lantern and just all of the enemies ignore the defense points, or they ignore the what it calls this, the interception points, and they just all kind of flock together, and you're like, it's time to just drill right through you with these Dex Pixia. So you have these tiny little pistols, and you're taking down all these high-level enemies. It's absolutely freaking fantastic. One of the other things that I have to mention about Titania that I love is I love how she has tribute, and that's kind of like a little mini game. It's kind of like, alright, so what buffs can I get from what enemies? Okay, this enemy drops that buff. Alright, I need to be able to refresh this buff because I've got like 20 seconds left on it. So you're like zipping around and you're like flying around. So again, she does have that engagement level, which I really like when it comes to a frame, because of the fact that you can legit make your own mini game out of your buffs, and I think that's fantastic. Even with Razor Wing Blitz, that's just like another mini game as well. Ooh, I'm full stacks on the Blitz. I need to be able to go ahead and get more buffs. You can. I'm getting too excited. I need to calm myself down. But for those of you guys who do know how much I love Arcwing, this is definitely not a surprise to you at all. And because she's got the engagement level, she's got her own little mini games, and she's got CC and damage output to top it off, definitely one of the funnest frames in game, and one of my favorites. You guys see me play hers a lot. So that about does it for this episode. I know some of you guys were probably surprised that Loki wasn't in my top 5, but he is my workhorse. He gets the job done. He can go do whatever he needs to do, and he still makes it very fun and entertaining. However, there are some frames that I do rejoice in playing a little bit more than him. Now, what I want for you guys is to go ahead and leave your list of your 5 funnest frames down in the comments below. Don't think about meta, don't think about any kind of mission type, just think about what really makes you feel good. For some people, it will be absolute dominance of the battlefield and doing massive damage numbers. That's absolutely fantastic. Other people, it might be the ability to survive no matter what. So all of you Trinity mains out there, I see you, and I love you for all of your support. You know, maybe you've got Frost that just kind of keeps everything slowed, and maybe it's all about the fashion frame. Maybe you've got a frame that has the best fashion ever and you can't stop looking at them. Go ahead and toss your version of my list down in the comments below. I am very curious to see what fun is, because that is one thing that we do have to keep in mind, that fun is different for every single Warframe player out there, and that fun should not be forgotten in the midst of trying to farm, in the midst of trying to get, you know, the biggest damage numbers, in the midst of trying to be in endurance missions for a long period of time. Fun in Warframe, because it's a game, should be your #1 priority. So that about does it for me for now, and as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!